Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's a post-match pint here on the roof at Malones Bar after a dramatic penalty shootout victory over Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden. I've got Kenny and Darren with me to go back over the 120 minutes plus that we just watched. Kenny, a lot more dramatic and stressful than I thought it would be, but a major relief to be in the final.
I wasn't ready for that emotional rollercoaster when I woke up this morning. Walking into the game, you're thinking, well, even since the last time we kicked a ball, the whole domestic season swung in our favour. There's real momentum that's been gifted to us. We've played pretty well in the last couple of games. You think Hampden in the sun, nice big surface. Our key men are coming back. We've got a key trio right in the middle of the park. This is going to be a day where we're going to put in a dominant performance, send out a message, and they make everyone be fearful of what's going to come in the last 6 games. But it actually was the opposite. Although we've won the game, we've exited the game feeling, I feel pretty vulnerable about what I've just watched. In the middle of the park, McGregor just doesn't look fit. I mean, we really need Callum fit and firing. I know we've got a nice little bit of momentum in terms of league position now, and we're in a cup final, but we really need McGregor fit and firing for these last 6 games. He just looks a bit out of sorts, and that affects the rest of the side. Hatate can't get fed. Hatate looks ineffective. Yang was diabolical again out wide. Scales his worst performance in the jersey. Throw all that together, and it's no surprise that the game was a bit kamikaze. We couldn't get any rhythm at all in the first half. In the second half, we got into nice pockets of play, but mainly because Aberdeen decided just to drop deep into a low block, which I thought was a poor decision on their part. It gave us a bit of territory, and it allows us to suffocate them a bit, but that was really a tactical error, I think, on Aberdeen's part, rather than us turning into a swashbuckling side. So, overall, a little bit alarming. We somehow find ourselves with 1 kick away from victory after all of the drama. We pretend we've got Ederson on our side, and we send up Joe Hart, the most uncomfortable player with the ball at his feet that we've got in the whole squad. I don't know if that was just for drama or TV, but it was a nonsense, and it doesn't surprise me that he hit the post. Fair play. I love Joe Hart. Fair play. He ultimately turns out to be some sort of hybrid hero at the end with saving that penalty. But an incredibly dramatic afternoon, but one that is a bit bittersweet because it doesn't make me feel entirely comfortable getting post-split.
Aye, Darren, I think you could tell for the word go today that it wasn't going to be an easy afternoon for us. We get caught cold 2 minutes in. Clarkson plays a ball in between Scales and Tata Vickers, and Miovski gets onto it and finishes it. Joe Hart gets something to it, but it's not enough to keep it out. And I think in that first half, you could tell Aberdeen were right up for it. They won a lot of second balls, they won a lot of 50-50s, and I think in midfield they were getting space to try and pick passes and try and find Miovski in behind, and we were a bit disjointed in that first half.
Well, it was felt like a real cup tie fixture. We've never really properly had an easy semi-final. It's just Hampden. And if you look at Aberdeen as well, I was going to the stadium fully expecting it to be a more comfortable one because Aberdeen are in the bottom half. But I think that's maybe why they put on such a good show. They maybe try to salvage their season. I mean, they've changed their manager more than I've changed my socks. So I was thinking it was going to be an easy game, but I'll give them some credit. They made it a real cup tie. Obviously, Kenny touched on the wee one at our best. You throw that together and you get a really entertaining cup tie. And it was good that sounds weird, but maybe it was a good thing that they scored so early on because it let us settle. We had 3/4 of the stadium getting behind the team. And maybe after 10 minutes, we, like you said, Kenny, they sort of sat behind the ball and it let us build for there. I mean, I think that first goal, it was a mistake from Angus MacDonald that let Kyogo in. He did a really quiet game, but you have to give him a bit of credit for that, for putting pressure on the defender. Maybe should have done better with the finish, but luckily Kühn was there for the rebound. But again, the second half, I just wasn't really sure about what we were trying to do. Kenny touched on Yang and Kühn there. Yang was particularly bad, and the difference was that as soon as he came off and you immediately saw James Forrest with his experience, his leadership, he looked so calm, and I think he had maybe one effort from cutting inside a minute before he scored, and then he'd done it again and he scored, and that's when you can see that he is still an important part of our squad, even though he's maybe not got the legs anymore, because it's very rare that you see someone who comes on in the second half get taken back off again, but that's when you're going into 120 minutes.
I thought he maybe rolled his ankle right at the end.
Oh, did he?
He won a corner down our side and he kind of rolled his ankle.
Put that on top of the fact that he doesn't play a lot, and it's really not a big deal to be taking him off. I don't think we need to look too much into that, but a real cup tie, entertaining, stressful, very stressful. Brilliant for the neutral, good for Scottish football, but very stressful 90 minutes. My first penalty was shootout live and I stayed up for Celtic.
Yeah. Aye, it was crazy, Kenny. I think all afternoon I had that feeling that we were never really in proper control of the game. I think we huffed and puffed in the first half, and as Darren says, we get level through Kyogo's endeavour and his work rate to go and rob MacDonald of the ball. Could have done better with the finish, but Kühn knocks it in, and then again, when you've been behind in a game, you're just looking for us to really stamp our authority and take a foothold, but it never materialised. And even when we went ahead with Forrest, who makes a great impact, you can tell right away the difference, as Darren says. Like, he was so direct, but also so composed and calm in his finish. His technical level is way higher than Kühn and Yang, and I would argue Palma as well. He's the best technical winner we've got, as Brendan Rodgers has said at times this season. But I thought, even at 2-1, you're looking for us again. Can we just take control? But we could never grasp it today.
I think it was the middle of the park. We brought on Iwata after 60, 65 minutes. He underwhelms me a bit, Iwata. He's a decent functional player. He's an understudy to our most important player, so thereby, it's a bit difficult for him to come in and make a permanent impact. But between him and McGregor, neither of them had control in the middle of the park. Rio's still trying to find fitness, it would seem. He's had lovely little moments since he's come back, Rio. Wonderful finish against St Mirren, but it was a moment when he's really thriving in that environment, in that big pitch. He's a different player than we saw from his output today. So I think unless we've got control in the middle of the park, we're not going to impact the game, because we know we're going to get nothing out wide. I think his decision was wrong today to start Yang and Kühn. I would have started Palma and Forrest the opposite. Forrest, okay, you might not get 90 minutes out of him, but he's not a decrepit old man. He's 32 years old. He's barely played all season. His legs look fresh when he comes on. That's his 4th appearance in the last 4 games, and in every single one he's had a meaningful impact on what we've done.
See, just on that, do you think that's maybe Brendan Rodgers has used him as an impact sub and it's worked well? So do you think he's maybe thought, I'll keep him and he can impact the game if we need it?
I understand that argument if you're getting reasonable output of the people that are starting, but the people that are starting are dreadful. So it's really a no-risk decision to start James. If we get 60 minutes out of James, you might find that Kühn's a bit of a better of an impact player. Wingers tend to lend themselves to be impact players because the game's stretched. Yeah. They're players that are a bit inconsistent, but when the game's stretched, they can come in and affect things. So I personally would start Forrest and Palma in the next match. That was another game. I know Kühn had a relatively calm, it was an open goal finish, but he tucked it away quite nicely. Yeah. But the rest of his output was pretty weak. So I would start them going into the post-split. But if we can let's get real. If we get McGregor, O'Reilly and Hatate firing for these, no one stands a chance. We will dominate. It doesn't matter who we play wide. If they dominate the middle of the park in the way that they can, no one comes near us. We know that, we saw that. It's just about fitness for them. Unfortunately, it's about, are they going to find that key rhythm in the nick of time? They've got another full week's training. With every week's training that passes, there's a chance. But that's what's going to really drown the rest of the league if they get going. And we didn't see it today. I'd hope we did, but they were well off it today.
Yeah, they were. And Darren, I thought Aberdeen got the better of his midfield, and credit to Aberdeen, I thought they played well. You could tell they were right up for it. They were first to a lot of second balls, as I say. They were dogged in midfield. They won a lot of tackles. They created chances in their own way. As I say, they were looking for that ball in behind, because Miovski is always a threat in behind the defence. I think they do deserve credit, and they might feel themselves unlucky not to have come away as victors. But for us, really poor. The concession of the 2 goals, obviously the first equaliser at 2-2 and the final minute in normal time, and then the second equaliser in the final minute extra time, are almost identical goals. The first one, you could tell Aberdeen were building pressure. They kept putting balls into the box. We were maybe giving away some cheap free kicks, and it looked like there was chances in there for them. They have a corner, we clear it, there's a great opportunity for us in the counter-attack. Palma's just came on. I think we've got 2 players over on the left-hand side, and he can tell they're there, but he just hooks a blind pass, loses possession at the halfway line, and Hoilett, who's just took the Aberdeen corner, is standing with the freedom of the left-hand side for Aberdeen, puts a brilliant ball into the back post and they equalise. And that was something that really hurt us today. I think those balls into the back post, in behind Scales, and it's Taylor's side as well, but I think in behind Liam Scales, 2 almost identical headers that brought Aberdeen level.
Well, when you're a goal up in a cup fixture, the main thing you want is, with 5 minutes remaining, just hold on to the lead. You can forgive it once, but twice, especially as you say, they were both the exact same goals. I picked up on something on the extra time equaliser, like we spoke about at the start there when Forrest came off. I thought it was a bit strange to bring on the Rocky. I understand that we're holding on to a lead and we're under a bit of pressure, but what I noticed is that it took away the outball on the wide right hand side, and that's where a lot of Aberdeen's pressing was coming from. So it ended up just being an overload of the fullback and the winger for Aberdeen just against Allistair Johnston, and it was letting them get those balls in, and ultimately that's where the cross comes in and it's the back post again. And you're kind of looking, we'll need to watch it back when we get home or whatever and see it from a TV, because we're in the stadium and you know what Hampden's like, you feel like a million miles away from the pitch sometimes, but it's kind of in that area where communication's so important between not only just a centre back and his full back, but the goalkeeper as well. You're looking for somebody just to command that and take charge of it, and ultimately that's where the 2 Aberdeen goals come from. But I heard a lot of murmurings in the stand. We spoke about it off camera on the way here, that more and more people are coming to realise maybe Liam Scales isn't the preferred option. A lot of grumbles about Naroki not being in the starting 11. Maybe we'll see. Like, we're obviously getting to the end of the season, and it's clear that Rodgers is going to stick with those 2 just purely for consistency. Next season we'll need to see how it is, if Naroki's got what it takes to be in there. Me personally, I think Liam Scales is starting to show that he's a good player, but he shouldn't be starting in a Celtic team.
Aye, Kenny, I've talked a lot about Liam Scales this season, and I feel bad at times because I never like to criticise individual players, or it's not a vendetta against them, but I think he's a limited player. I think if you go back to the start of the season, he was put in the team because we were forced into it through injuries, and yes, he stood up well in some big games where you would have expected his level to be lower than that. But I think the problem is this Celtic team, they build so slowly. The centre halves are always on the ball. They're responsible for building the attacks, and it allows the other team to just leave Liam Scales on it because he takes so many touches. His passes are not in front of his teammates. They're not concise enough. They're not clean enough at times, and that doesn't help us building out, because that's a weakness for us in terms of how quickly we can move the ball through the thirds. And I just think, obviously, today he's been caught at the back post, what looks like twice, without seeing both of the goals back in any detail. Very similar goals, in at the back post behind them. And I think these are the if you go back to last season, we're looking at the areas in the team that we can maybe improve. Some people were saying we can maybe improve in Carl Starfelt. Greg Taylor was another one, left back, people would really want us to improve in. And we haven't improved those areas, and that's why we've made heavy work of a lot of games this season, and there's been a lot of games where we've looked vulnerable defensively, and so I don't think, while it's not anything personal against Liam Scales, but it's not a surprise that teams can get at us defensively.
I think the part of the reason the league's still a live issue is because we've had so many problems at centre back. Look, we shouldn't. Well, firstly, getting into next season, it's a key area of recruitment. I don't think we can give him with Scales. We can't say that Scales is going to lead us into a Champions League campaign, right? I mean, that would be completely flawed. We shouldn't malign him, though. He's come from the Irish League. He picked up a Champions League Man of the Match award this season. He was excellent at home when we beat Rangers, a crucial victory that's got us to this point. He's had a lot of really good contributions under pressure, Liam Scales. So, on a sort of personal level, from where he's come from, let's not malign him. From a Celtic point of view, about where we need in the direction, he's not competent enough with the ball at his feet. He can't. Balls over the top to Kyogo was always been a bit of a threat to us. We've not been getting that this season because we've not just shelling the ball forward aimlessly, but we've not had the centre halves with the intelligence to read his run and play it in. You get a nice balance because he's left-footed, but there is a limit to his output. If Carl Starfelt had played the 30-odd league games that we've had so far this season, I think you might find the points gap is a bit different, and that might seem a bit stark and a bit dramatic. I think that's probably the truth, though. So a crucial piece of recruitment in the summer, I think it's 2 centre halves, not 1.
Yeah. Darren, I thought in extra time, though, even though I'm saying we never had control of the game, I thought there was always another goal in it for us. I thought Aberdeen are vulnerable enough. We've got enough quality in us that if we string a nice passage of play together, we can get another goal, and we did that. Worked it really well. I think James Forrest finds a nice pass down the right-hand side for Allistair Johnston, cuts it back, comes to O'Reilly in the middle, he takes a nice touch and just places it into the top corner past Kelle Roos. and then again you think surely that's us now. It was a really nice finish from Matt O'Reilly. He actually got the sponsor man of the match in the stadium. Again, I just think you're looking for us to sort of manage the game a wee bit better in that period. I think all afternoon we could have been a lot tidier on the ball.
We shot ourselves in the foot sometimes, especially in extra time after we got I think the Matt O'Reilly's goal was right on half time, and then what you're asking Celtic to do is keep composed in that last 15 minutes, even go for another goal. And there was a chance that Liam Scales is a header which he has to score.
Just can't get above it.
And there was also a chance with Awata, I can't remember if it was at the end of normal time or extra time, where it makes a great run, Hatate plays him in, and instead of shooting it tries to pass to Ida, and it's just sort of overplaying it, trying to walk the ball into it, and it almost just gives Aberdeen that encouragement that okay, we have to wake up now because Celtic have just missed a great chance, we're getting to the end of the game. So just things like that, just to kill off games. We don't often find ourselves in that situation where we're hanging on. It's very, very new. The players, it's the first time that I've ever seen, not ever, but in recent memory, that we have to go to a back five to hang on to a lead. But I mean, we have to criticise them. We also have to give them a bit of credit because Aberdeen were up for it. They put us under great pressure at the end. There was part of them in the back of my mind that was even thinking when they got both equalisers that they could even go on and win it. But it was actually the opposite. It was us that were going forward, and we could have had chances to win it 4-3 or 3-2 in normal time. Just things like that, mate.
Aye, Kenny, we come to a penalty shootout, and obviously with our record in penalties this season, you're fearing the worst, especially when we've been ahead in the game twice, as I say, lost 2 late equalisers. You do start to think, is this going to be our day? And as I say, there's always nerves with a penalty shootout for any team, but with Celtic, I don't know why. I mean, I know the big ones that stand out in my mind through my lifetime are Spartak Moscow. I know there was one against Dundee United where Boruc scored a penalty, but you're never confident getting into a penalty shootout. And to be fair, we took some brilliant penalties, but we work ourselves into that position where we've got the decisive penalty, the 5th penalty, to win the game and send us to the final. And for 10-15 seconds I was baffled, so I was like, why are no Celtic players coming forward? I actually didn't work out quickly enough that that means Joe Hart's going to take the 5th penalty.
I thought it was a retake. That's why
I thought it was a retake as well.
So crazy decision to see Hart step up for the decisive penalty, wasn't it?
I mean, we can laugh about it now, but I mean, if we're not in the final, I think Brendan Rodgers is a bit culpable there, right? I mean, it's funny now, right? But it's not so funny if that costs us a cup. He shouldn't be. That should all be pre-agreed before the start of the game. I get it if your goalkeeper is a beautiful striker of the ball and is wonderful with his feet and he can spray it around. Joe Hart's pretty awkward with his feet. I've no idea why he was sent up. Was it just for a fairy tale? Was it for a bit of romance? That great. Do that in his testimonial. Do that at the end of the season. Do not do that in the heat of trying to get into a Scottish Cup final. It didn't surprise me that he completely balls that up. What did surprise me was the quality of all of our other finishes, because it feels like a 50-50 moment every time Celtic get a penalty domestically, and with every other outfielder slotted the ball, slotted it away with a bit of style. Joe Hart should have saved another couple of penalties in the shootout, because their penalties, 2 of their penalties were really quite weak. He guessed the right way, and he should have reacted better. It's hard to be critical of a goalkeeper at a penalty, but I felt that he was a bit weak in a couple. But fair play to him, he becomes the hero at the end of all. And look at how, the wonderful thing about that game, look at how much it means to Joe Hart. He's lauding up the fans. Even actually when we went into extra time, he was really, really animated, going round the fans, trying to get us up, trying to galvanise everyone. We're going to miss that next season. Yeah. We're going to miss watching it, but the dressing room we're going to miss having that as a father figure around them. Yeah. And that's something we need to be careful of next season, because the chemistry of the changing room will be different. But today was a bit of an obscure outcome for Joe Hart, but one where he's ultimately a bit of a hero. Yeah. And he's coming into a nice bit of form, Joe Hart, actually, towards the latter end of the season.
He is, Darren, and I think it's worth. Obviously, he misses the penalty, but I think he makes a big save in the first half. Aberdeen have got a wide free kick. I think Kyogo maybe gets a nick on it. It comes to the back post. I think it's Gartman, so it's a centre half, but he gets out and smothers it well. He had one for Hoilett at the back post in the second half, where again he gets out and smothers it really well. He's been playing well, Joe Hart, and as Kenny says, I think his leadership, and it's intangible, this stuff, right? But as Kenny says, when he's coming towards the fans and he's trying to get everybody up for the extra time, you can tell he's so motivated. He gives his all for Celtic, and he knows he's only got 6 professional games left in his career. But I think he deserves credit. He's playing well. and he's a huge figure in terms of the leadership in this squad.
I mean, you and Kenny covered most of it there, but like you say, he's finishing his career at Celtic, but finishing his career completely. He wants to go out with the best success he can. 2 trophies. It's been good for us. Like the whole, I think at the start, there's a few big questions at the start of the season saying that he's washed, he's too old, he should retire, blah blah blah. And I think there was spells, particularly at the start of the season to the middle of the season, where he was making a lot of just basic small errors. But if you ask me, like, I think he's probably been a more consistent player maybe the last 2-3 months. I can't remember him making any glaring mistakes that he has done in the past, and he's been making some pretty good saves, but just got to hope that it is the best outcome for us, because he has been a good servant, so let's hope that he does well there.
He goes out with a bang, and hopefully a League and Cup double. Kenny, we're in the final, something to look forward to after the league season's done. 25th of May I think it is. Just a relief to be in it, but how would you take from that we're there in the final, but also going forward now into the next 3 league games are absolutely monumental for us?
I mean, the midfield picks itself, right? You're not going to drop Cal McGregor, Hatate or Matt O'Reilly. You just need to get fitness in the legs of Hatate and McGregor, and hope that when we next turn out at Dens Park, they're motoring, because if they're motoring, nobody will get near us. It sounds arrogant, it's just the truth, it's a fact. The problems we do have still to solve are out wide. We don't have, the wingers don't pick themselves at all. I think we should completely change them. I would just start James and Palmer, but I don't know how that would end up, because Palmer gave away a goal today. Palmer's been out of form. And the other issue we've got is the centre back, because Scales is an abomination today. There's no point in dressing it up. If he does that at home to Rangers, it's a bit more damaging. So I'd be minded to bring in the Rocky. I don't think he'll do that though. He's got a real sort of affinity with Scales. I think he likes the fact that Scales is left-footed. So I'm a bit uncomfortable actually after today's performance. It's such a crucial moment of the season to be unsure about your wingers, to be unsure about your centre-backs. It's not a nice feeling. What you want is a team to pick itself and be confident, and we're not quite there yet. But we've got a better goal difference. We're 3 points ahead, and that's a tall order for somebody to overturn. So I'm really looking forward to it. But I just hope we hold our nerve in terms of those sort of vulnerable positions, because that may be what we live or die by.
Darren, it's obviously Rangers or Hearts in the final. We'll see how that other semi-final plays out tomorrow. But how do you feel going forward? And can you pick a man of the match? It's a difficult one today, isn't it?
Well, to beat Rangers in a final is always great. We've done it last season, but I mean, it's probably the most stressful week of your life going into a build-up for that. And I'd love to play Hearts in the final, because I think we've more of a chance of winning. Rangers, again, I think we can beat Rangers in the final, but it's a pretty boring answer, but I would take either one, to be honest.
Just thought we've actually got a much worse record against Hearts than we have against Rangers this season.
It's a bit of a boring answer, but I would take either one. And in the league, I think Kenny touched on some of it there. Consistency's the end. We now have the ball is in our court, so to say. Next game is Dundee away, on the swamp. Yeah. I remember the last game.
Bowling Green on night actually.
I remember the last game we went to in Dundee, and it was very comfortable. So hopefully we can repeat some of that. We are quite favourable in the split in terms of we have the 3 home games, Hearts, Rangers, and St Mirren. Yeah. They have really hard games. 3 points, better goal difference. I know whose shoes I would rather be in. Man of the match, I think I heard of the Tano, it's Matt O'Reilly. Yeah. It's one of those games where I think everyone gets maybe like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Maybe some certain players may only get a 3 or 4. No standouts, but I would have to say just purely overall Matt O'Reilly.
Yeah, Kenny, can you pick a standout today?
I would actually give it to Allistair Johnston, right? Because I think O'Reilly, I think the middle of the park we lost control for 8% of the game, so I don't think you can give it to O'Reilly, albeit he had some nice moments. Allistair Johnston was a solid. Allistair Johnston's someone who really we know cares for the jersey, and in every single match I watched some stills of his reaction to his scoring the winning penalty. Everybody was elated, but you can just sense within him he's desperate for this. He really wants Celtic to win this title, and it's manifesting itself in his performances. He wasn't world beaten today by any means, but he set up that third goal, and I thought he was just solid in a game where many people weren't.
Yeah, there you go. That's it for the post-match pint here from Malones. We will see you next week for the build-up to that game away at Dens Park. Like the video, comment with your own thoughts in today's game below, and we will see you then. Thank you.